So, everywhere we turn, from gurus to celebrities to our family members, our friends, they're all encouraging to overcome our fears. And for those of you who have tried to overcome without success, people also recommend, right, just letting it go. How can you let fear go? I don't know. I've tried it. It hasn't worked. Fear is often seen as a negative emotion that has to be defeated. It's something that we have to fight against. It's something we have to battle with. And it's also viewed as a weakness, and cultural norms suggest that we conquer our fears. Of course, fears can certainly inhibit us from taking action and pursuing our greatest life's desire. So in that respects, it behooves us from not letting it limit us and preventing us from rewriting our own story, and it's in our best interest. However, when we also think about it, as far as like conquering our fears, taking a colonialistic approach to conquering them actually keeps us from the hidden gems that are inside fears. It keeps us from finding what those gems are and being able to apply it in our lives so that we can be successful. So, besides taking a colonialistic approach, as history has taught us, it does generally more harm than good. We need to know not just how to feel our fears. Most of us know what fear feels like, but not a lot of us actually know what fear really means. So, in today, I'm going to talk about how to allow your fear to teach you authentic ways to be successful. And for those of you who do not know me, do a little intro. I'm Erica Trimnell, also known as the Mindful Mistress on Instagram and TikTok. I consult with organizations on trauma informed mindfulness practices, as well as coach spiritually led individuals who feel stuck, who feel limited, but whether it be emotionally, mentally, physically, energetically, I help people get back that childlike passion. Remember when you were excited to live life? Remember when you just, you reveled in all the things that you liked? Everything was, you had all these best friends and everything was fun. Well, I help people find that within themselves. I do not believe that that is something that is only left for children, but I believe as adults that we operate in our zones of genius. We operate with things that fuel us, that give us passion and purpose. So I guide people to pick up their purpose and uncover the ability to create the life they want, which looks like living authentically, loving intently, and moving more purposefully. So, as far as today, I want to stress that we've been conditioned to believe that fear is a bad thing and to be avoided at kind of all costs. However, it's completely natural to feel in some elements of your life when a new opportunity is presented to you, you might be a little bit fearful, right? Because that's the unknown. Now, there is some rational and legitimate fears. However, I want to talk about the fear that is irrational and generally triggered by our emotions. And a lot of times it's emotions from the past. So, for example, it could be like fear of going on a dating app, fear of doing a video, doing a TikTok. Opportunities like this can make us feel super uncomfortable because they invite us to step out of our comfort zone and try something new. I was on a webinar not too long ago, and the lady was talking about how alignment could sometimes feel scary, and I totally believe that because alignment could be something that you're meant to do that's just outside of your comfort zone. So, although it might be a yes, it could be a very scary yes to make. Now, when we talk about stepping out of your comfort zone, I want you to know that those fears are not self-preservation fears. Self-preservation fears like you were in imminent danger, you were going to die. Rather, these are more self-sabotaging fears. You might argue that there is a little bit of self-preservation in the fact, that it's preserving your ego. It's preserving the identity of who you thought you were and what you are, but not the essence, not the core of who you are. These examples provide us a tremendous opportunity for where you are going in life. However, but letting fear dictate how your life will turn out and how it's preventing you from unlocking your full potential. So it can be so much more comfortable to live life in the past and to not face any uncertainty whatsoever. Be like, nope, we're good. I'm only going to stick to what I know because what we know, the past is what 100% of what we know. And the problem is, if we're stuck in the past, we cannot move forward. We cannot accomplish our life purpose. The challenge that we are faced with is to recognize how and where our fears and their accompanying emotions are blocking us from leaping, from taking that scary yes, from moving towards your goals, from moving towards things in life that you actually want. Many of us are conditioned to avoid the things that we fear. And this creates a pattern that is very hard to break out of. I believe that it is your job to use your fears to find the uncomfortableness in things that you are meant to do. That's scary, yes. But how you learn to embrace your fears and how you learn from them and find the opportunities for spiritual growth and realization of your dreams, that is not always easy to do, which is why I'm here today. And that's why we're talking about it. But it first starts with awareness. Awareness is at the top of every mountain, right? You never know you have a problem until you're aware of it. So ask yourself if you want fear to be blocking you from doing something, or if you should just let yourself feel afraid, but then decide to act anyways. Are you ready to take that scary yes? The best way to act despite your fears is to understand how they work. Then fears become not so scary. Fears are less fearful, right? So I want you to know the first thing is that fear is your body's default reaction to something that our mind and body, that mind body or mind body brain connection perceives is something that we cannot control, or it's something that we do not understand. So this is because you have a higher chance of surviving life if I give you a false positive than a false negative. Think about that. In a life or death situation, you rather have the false positive than the false negative, because then we know we're gonna survive. And if we don't build a track record of experiencing these kinds of things, our system just doesn't have enough data to predict whether this is something I can survive or something I can't survive. So you'll just end up sticking with what you know and never moving beyond your comfort zone. The more you interact only with the people, situations, places that you're familiar with, including online spaces, the bigger and more generic the category of danger kind of becomes in your own mind. So you, in fact, start strengthening those neural pathways in your brains for this defense. So it's going to start labeling more things as danger the more you stay in your comfort zone. The more chances you step out, even if it's a little baby toe, the more you help your brain widen it. So it's not a generic, like, okay, alarm is set, time to turn around and walk away. So when you're fearful, it's showing you a person, place, or experience, again, remember, that it thinks you can't control or it thinks that you don't understand. So we're digging into how fear works. And to override this, you could ask yourself, is this true? Is this situation, is this person, is this place, is this thing, is whatever it is you're thinking about, whatever it is you're fearful of, is it something I'm facing that I cannot control? Perhaps. Or maybe it's something you realize you can control. Is it something that you don't understand? I'm pretty sure I'm a smart cookie. And it's something that you can understand or something you can figure out with time. So, with that, you can use how fear is created. You can use the fear mechanism system to dismantle that and use it to your advantage and then move forward. The next thing I want to talk about is fear is our ability, which I love, to like mentally time travel. I mean, think about it. What if I told you your fear is linked to your imagination? Yes. Think about it. We are the only species known to project ourselves into a future state. Your fears are magnified by your imagination of what could happen. And usually, a fear trigger is followed by a negative outcome that you don't want, and then you start thinking about another one and another one and another one. And I know I'm not the only person who has gone down that death spiral of possible negative outcomes, which might or may not have left you unable to like do anything, paralyzed to even act. Because you're like, okay, at this point, I'm so fearful, I don't even know what to do. It's likely we've all had those moments in our lives. But what I want you to know is that you're a co creator, which means that you are the author and the reader of your own fears. You have the ability to actively imaginate and recreate and innovate with regards to your fears. And because you have this ability as the author, that means you have the power to rewrite an outcome. If your fear is telling you, if I do this, I'm scared of what people are going to think of me, or what if I get rejected, or if I lose this, or this doesn't work out, or he doesn't like me, you have the power because you just use your imagination to create a scenario. You have the power to rewrite that. And how you choose to read your fears also influence how you live your life. It determines the effect that fear has for your life. So there's this term called productive paranoia. I know, sounds weird, sounds like an oxymoron, but this has been seen in business owners who learn to use their fears by asking those scary, crazy what if questions, right? What if this product doesn't work? If this launch isn't successful, this marketing plan? They were able to use those what ifs and interpret their fears to make a plan, create a plan of action, and then mitigate those nightmare scenarios. So they were actually found to be more successful by leaning into reading their fears to see what it's telling them. So are you leaning into your fears to imagine a better outcome, or to feed and fuel your fears? When you think of your fears as stories, you take back your power. You put yourself in authority, which allows you to reconnect to yourself and then consciously create. So the other thing about how our brain works when we're in a fearful situation, or we're thinking about something that's fear based, our critical brain shuts down, because if you have to make a life or death decision, you can't sit there and analyze it. You've just gotta go, right? You gotta fight or you gotta flight. And so it shuts down your critical thinking and shuts down your ability to be able to create. And so when you start thinking of your fears as stories you're telling yourself, let's create a new story, right? It puts you back into that calm parasympathetic state where you can actually co-create what you want. Now, the last thing I want you to know about your fears to help you be successful is fears are just complete overgeneralization. If you've had one negative experience with something, the neural resources in your brain are devoted to making sure that never happens again. And so with that, I want you to think of if you've experienced maybe a threatful parent or caregiver, and your brain can it will take in all that sensory information from that time. It can tie that, and imagine it's tying it to a new partner or a new friend, right? Because fear has now overgeneralized that maybe it's the smell of a cologne that your father had, or the sound of your mom's heels, or that is now been assessed with your partner who maybe wears the same cologne, God forbid, or hearing your partner's ears can trigger or activate that alarm response. So it makes this overgeneralization when we have negative experiences. And without knowing it, you could be put in defense mode. So our brain groups things together again, so we don't have to analyze it. So we do not need to go into our critical thinking skills and try to ascertain, is this going to kill me or not? Your brain is just, all right, this is the signal, this is what we're doing. next situation. So it doesn't differentiate between what happened to you in the past and what's happening to you now in the future when you're being triggered. The other thing with that is your brain can't tell time. It doesn't know the difference between the child you who had that terrible negative experience and the current you who has this maybe loving partner or this loving friend, but you're still being triggered by your brain's classification of a negative experience, something that isn't good for you. So with that knowledge, you can use that to be successful. Well, how do you use it? Again, you're deconstructing how fear works. It's an overgeneralization. So there are tools and practices you can use, especially that I found in my work with trauma, to reprogram your brain, to reprogram those neural pathways so that you are safe. You can also do some inner child work, and that's something that I help clients with, is being able to reparent that hurt child so that she doesn't bring her drama into your life, or he doesn't bring his trauma into your life, into your current situation. That what happened in the past, you're able to make peace with it so it doesn't hinder your progress going forward. So, fear is extremely easy to learn, but can be difficult to unlearn. So, we have to consciously create, we have to override that system, and so to recap what we learned today, we learned that fear, it's a default. It's a default reaction based on your limited experiences. Some more experiences, then the less fear will pop up in your life. Fear is your ability to mentally time travel. How awesome is that? So you can use that to time travel, but then rewrite your story with that. And then lastly, fear is an overgeneralization of things. And so you can, with new experiences, with um, creating safe spaces and places, like even making your body a safe space, you can dismantle fear's fear system so that it doesn't become something that hinders you from doing the things in life you want to do. So now, armed with how we know fear operates, we can use this as another tool in our toolbox to create the life that we want. It is absolutely my dream to have everybody in this world operating in the things in life that they want. I know not realistic, but that's what I look forward to, and that's what I work towards is by giving you a little nugget and a little something to put in your toolbox helps you, tap into that and unlock that, then, I've been successful. So I wanna thank you so much for watching tonight. Again, I'm Eric Turnell. Join me next time when I wanna talk about, repurposing your pain to connect with your peace. Have a great evening. Bye.